Right, my name's Ashley. This is Bootcamp Raw, where we take an unedited look behind the scenes at Team Bootcamp. Here we have Neema, who's a Conquer Food bootcamper, who's not long joined us. What week are you into now?
Week 4.
Week 4. Just introduce yourself, Neema. Let us know where you're from, what you do.
So I left my job a couple of weeks back and decided to do something, so came here. So I'm here for 7 weeks. And I currently live in Swindon.
And what is it you do?
I work in hospitality, so I'm an operations manager.
Stressful?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Long hours?
Yeah, can be.
And what's the diet like at work if you're working long hours? And I'm assuming it's mostly office-based.
No, it's out on the road every day in kind of cafes. So I'd have breakfast at work and it'd be good. It'd be poached eggs, toast, salmon. But then I wouldn't eat again until probably 7, 8 in the evening. Right,
okay. So what was it that made you come to camp? Was there one defining moment? Did you think about it for a long time? How did it happen? What was the process?
I think I started to think about it the last time I was in hospital. So I spent quite a bit of time in and out of hospital and it was just getting stupid. So I think I realised I need to do something. I need to get healthy, get fit, so I can eradicate a lot of my problems.
Yeah. Let's talk about those problems if you don't mind. Let's dive into it. What health complications were you getting?
So diabetes type 2.
Yeah.
Quite bad IBS that would sometimes cause IBD. So what's it called? Infectious colitis and things like that, where I'd end up in hospital. Kidney stones. I've had my gallbladder removed. Low B12. I think the list goes on.
Right. And this all down to lifestyle?
I think some of it is. As much as I'd like to say it's not all down to lifestyle, I think the fair amount of it probably is, because diabetes can be reversed. The kidney stuff, it is because I have a horseshoe kidney. So that does mean that I'll always have complications.
Right.
But then also I did forget, I have had so many surgeries on my right leg. So I was born with club foot.
Right, okay.
And I think my probably driving decision was I didn't want to have a surgery again this year. So for me, if I can strengthen my whole body and lose weight, it'll take pressure off my right leg.
Yeah, for sure. So I've personally noticed that you've got some sores and ulcers, and that is a part of the issue you have with diabetes. And was that something that was beginning to get worse and worse as well over time?
Yeah, so that actually started last November. So my diabetes was actually quite well controlled. And then we thought, we'll take out some drugs. And then I started having hypers.
Okay.
So then that caused my body not to heal properly. So again, everything kind of leads back to the diabetes, I think.
Yeah. And talk about the process of booking camp then. Is it something you'd known about this place for a while? Did you just check and look for something like within a quick amount of time? How did you end up here specifically?
It was a pretty fast decision. So I did Googles of fitness camps, boot camps, found loads abroad, and that seemed super scary. And then found this one and read and watched every single video.
Did you?
And I think the thing that made me pick here was that people keep coming back. And I've experienced that in the 4 weeks that I've been here so far. I've met people that have come again and again and again. And that is the sign of success. But I never planned to do so long.
Okay.
When I had my initial phone call with Priya, my plan was to do 1 week.
Right.
And then I spoke to her about things I was worried about, because I was worried about walking, needing to go to the toilet when we were on a walk. And she was, and my health problems. And she said, I think you should do more of the long-term camp. So sent me the details. I think I thought about it for about a day and was like, okay, cool, book me in. I'm coming. And yeah, I pretty much booked it for the week after I finished my job.
And what do you think about that decision now?
Some days when I'm training with you, I regret it. So when we're running up Horseshit Hill, I massively regret it.
Oh, that was a good one.
No, do you know what? I've never felt so calm in my life. So we're putting our bodies under so much stress and pressure. But at the same time, I don't think I've ever felt this relaxed before.
Strange, isn't it?
I know. It's weird.
So strange and very simple. So simple that it's almost frustrating.
Yep, I agree.
Because it is a lot of the aspects of the camp is going back to basics. Yeah. It's, routine, not eating processed foods, moving your body.
I think the routine's the most important thing. You don't have to worry about anything. All you know is you've got to be out for breakfast, 8 a.m. And then the rest of the day, take one session at a time. And every session ends. So that when it's really tough and I really am struggling, I just tell myself every session ends.
That's a great way to look at it, because some people can get bogged down with the program, especially if you think about how much you're going to do in a week.
Yeah.
But it is just one session at a time, isn't it? And like you say, it'll end. And after it, there's a break.
Yeah,
or a
and then
snack,
you feel good.
Or a meal.
Yeah, and the breaks are just about the right time. So you're dying when you go into like morning break or afternoon break, but then half an hour and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go again.
Yeah, so. That's pretty cool. What's the situation with your diabetes now then in comparison to when you arrived?
So now it's come down massively. So I'm probably tracking an average of about 5. Is it mmol?
Millimoles, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas before I was averaging probably about 10, 11.
Right.
And I was taking stupid amounts of medication. So I was taking metformin 1 twice a day, glycoside, which is a fast-acting release, 2 twice a day with food, and then 36 units of insulin a day.
That's mad. And
then now I'm taking just the metformin once a day and 12 units of insulin. And that's in less than 4 weeks.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
How quickly it can be done. And would you agree that you would literally, I'm not saying that your healthcare professionals don't want you to get better, but did you feel there was an element of your disease just being managed over time and it was just going to get worse, particularly if you followed the current guidelines for a type 2 diabetic? They almost do just manage your disease. It's, because each meal, the current guidelines are 40 to 65 grams of carbs per meal, which means you need insulin to maintain the recommendations.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough education about it, because I feel like I've learned a lot more about it here. So even when I phoned my nurse the other week to say, look, I'm having hypos, I'm struggling, her advice was you eat the sugar and then 10 minutes later you have a sandwich. And I explained where I was, saying that's not possible. This is a paleo diet. She's like, well, let me talk to your trainers. And I was like, no, I need a different suggestion, because it can't be sandwich, it can't be biscuit. So I don't think even they understand sometimes what will help you. So on the day that I had a bad hypo, literally 3-4 tiny forkfuls of sweet potato, all I needed. And I was absolutely fine. But
less insulin.
Yeah. And that took obviously a few days to figure that out. But yeah, my aim is to come off all the medicine. I know that it'll be hard when I leave. I have to keep up that routine, but that's kind of what I want to do.
And that is what will happen. It's not really questionable. I mean, I've seen it. Let's be objective. I've been here for 6 years now. I've not worked on the Kung Fu program with a type 2 diabetic that has left a type 2 diabetic.
Really?
Not one.
Wow.
Every single one is reversed, and you watch them reduce their medications week after week. And you can attest to that, because you're the latest really sort of chronic type 2 diabetic that we've had. And already in 4 weeks was it?
Yeah, less than that really.
Less than 4 weeks, 3 and a bit.
Yeah.
You've already seen the effects, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's mental. And I just think the knowledge that you guys have helps as well. So when the other day I came to you and said about my blood sugar going up after one of our workouts, and then you explaining that process, and actually that was a good thing, and then it went straight back down again anyway. So.
Yeah, and it happens to us all, Yeah. It's because obviously it can be a bit more of an issue for you, but we all get that spike, and it shows your body's working.
Yeah, but at least it wasn't a huge spike, because before my spikes were like 20, 21.
Yeah.
This was a spike to 8 or 8.5 or something.
Perfectly, acceptable. And that's, it's amazing to see. And also it's amazing to see your transformation in such a short period of time. I know I've only worked with you for 2 weeks, but I saw you prior to that, and already it's very visible, the change in your body, the way you look, like your complexion and your kind of eye whites, for example, your hair, the way you move. It's already dramatically different. So just imagine where you'll be, in another 4 weeks.
I know, I'm quite excited by that.
It's
I'm a
amazing.
bit jealous that I'm not here for the 12 weeks.
Yeah, well, you can always come back.
Yeah, but it'll be for boot camp. I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
Yeah, no. So on to the actual training then. We'll talk specifically about that. It must have been a shock to the system to start with, because it's a lot of training and you have to go through that withdrawal from sugar, the change in diet, the sleep, the environment, and then you hit with all this exercise. How's that been?
You know what? The change in diet, absolutely fine, because it's actually more food than I was eating before, and it's nice food. I don't have to think about it. The walks, I struggle with.
Yeah.
And that's my nemesis. So that's the thing that I have to just power through and keep telling myself one step. And then the sessions, majority of them I really enjoy, but they're hard. I think the first couple of intense days, I just wanted to cry.
Yeah.
I think my first 3 or 4 days here, I can't explain why, but I felt so emotional.
Did you?
I just wanted to walk away from the group all the time at the end of a session and just have a few tears.
That's normal.
I know, but I've got no idea why. But the actual sessions themselves, I really, really enjoy them.
Yeah.
Green PT, great. It's nice being outside. Some of the exercises I cannot stand. I hate dragging that tire.
Right.
Because you get bruises under your arms. Sorry, not dragging the tire, dragging the log.
Okay.
That's hard. But then the sessions at the facility is probably what I'm more comfortable with, because that's the kind of sessions I used to do with my trainer. But it is a shock to the system.
Yeah,
because you do normally 1, 2, 3 sessions a week. But here we're doing 3-4 hours a day on maybe even longer some intense days. And then the walks are 4 and a half hours. So
for a lot of people that come, particularly like yourself, the walk is one of the most challenging things you'll do, because it's that impact and it's that constant plod, and you have to go from A to B.
Yep.
There's no session surfing that can occur.
And there's the hills.
The hills.
Reverse golf club. Do not like reverse golf club.
Thank Emily for that one. So but I think the fitter you get, the more you're able to then appreciate your environment, because to start with, it's literally head down. This is grim. I hate it. But then suddenly your head starts to come up and you can kind of appreciate the beauty of the area you're in a bit more.
I've already noticed that. So there's certain walks that we've done several times now. And I find that I'm not as out of breath, or I'm able to chat to someone while I'm walking up a hill, and I'm not at the back of the group anymore. I'm not at the front of the group, and I do not want to be at the front of the group, but I'm quite comfortable in the middle of the group now. And I maintain a pace, and I found my ways of getting up the hills. You just don't stop. You just keep walking.
You've got to keep going. Yeah. But I think the walks are a really good way to measure your improvement as well, because it's very easy to see, the change in yourself and where you are within a group. And then very often you'll experience this is when a new person comes and they are the ones at the back really struggling, then you become the support. Yeah. And you can relate to how they feel, so it's kind of cool how it works like that as well.
Yeah. And do you know one of the things, the support, I was shitting my pants about coming to a group where we were all living in the same house or in a pod outside, and not knowing anyone and all being different ages. The people here are amazing.
It just works, doesn't it?
Yeah, and everyone supports each other. We all have our phrases that we use to get ourselves through it when people are having tough days. So someone last week was insisting he was not going to do challenge day, and said that on his one-to-one session, and was said, do what you need to do. Came and told me he wasn't going to do it, and I sat him down and I went, right, this is in your head. You're saying you're not going to do it because you're scared and you haven't done one yet. So you're doing it. And if you struggle, don't do Saturday. But you're doing the challenge, and trust me, you will love it at the end of it. And he absolutely loved it at the end of it.
Did he?
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? And therefore he gets that pride because he's done it. The pride doesn't come without the challenge. And each week, you guys have got to feel really proud of yourselves for what you get through. And then also you're rewarded with getting on the scales, seeing the results, etc. Nothing comes easy. If it comes easy, it's not worth doing, is it? And it definitely does not come easy.
No, but I do want a lie-in. Not going to lie.
Friday?
When we have to wake up for weigh-in.
Yeah, the recovery aspect is something that we focus on a lot with the Kung Fu program, particularly with the prehab and the rehab. I know you've had some issues. How do you feel like they've been managed, and do you feel like the program's well catered for people that are going to come with issues, and allow you to get out of your chronic injuries through motion and knowledge as well, and understanding the body and how you can manage these things.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. There's never been anything I've not been able to do, because there's always the regression, or there's always, if it's running. I think we were doing Tabata with Miles the other week, and part of it was 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off of running. So in my head, I was like, right, I've literally just had a steroid injected into my foot. I'm in so much pain, but I'm doing this. So I was doing one of the 8s, I was running. The other one, I was walking, running, walking. And you make it, as long as everyone knows what's going on, you make it work. And I think I'm here for a reason. I don't want to miss anything, and I'm not going to allow what brought me here to stop me from doing, because that's the reason I'm here. The reason I'm here is to kind of conquer all the illnesses and the problems with my body. And if I allow those problems to get in the way, then I'm just not doing the right thing. So
exactly. I always say, I've probably said it on the podcast numerous times, don't let what you can't do affect what you can.
Yeah.
There's always stuff you can do. Can always help you. And, that's the way it works.
I mean, apart from that stretch earlier.
Yeah.
I couldn't even speak.
Me trying to pull your arms off and ask you if it's all right.
Yeah, it's great.
So back to the group, actually, because I think that's an interesting one and how it works. You wouldn't have expected to come to this rural manor house in Shropshire and be presented with, what's the nationalities you've got in your group? Israelis?
Like French-American.
A Czech, French-American, and
Dunya, so we had
Dunya, Serb. Yeah. They come from everywhere. It's amazing, isn't it? And everyone just seems to bond. And I think part of that is down to the suffering.
Yeah.
Because I think the suffering brings you together, and you just have this kind of mutual respect for each other, and that bond that you create is.
I think it feels like family.
There's no judgment either, is there?
No judgment at all.
No one cares.
Everyone, we talk very openly, and I won't go into detail about what we talk about.
No, I wouldn't want to know.
We're very open with each other, and it's just one big family, and it doesn't matter where they came from. Day one, we've all been there, so we know how hard it is. So people help me on my day one. I hopefully help people on their day one. And I can't even describe it. I've never been in an environment before where people are just so genuine. I live on my own. I live my life on my own.
Right.
So being surrounded by people was one of the things that probably scared me the most.
Yeah.
Like, we wake up together in a weird way. We have breakfast together. We train together. We have snacks together. We have lunch together. We train together. We have dinner together. We play games in the evening. So we're together for 12 hours a day? It's intense.
Yes. It's interesting though, from an evolutionary psychology point of view, that you are tapping into all these kind of primal pathways of how we're supposed to be as humans. And it's no surprising that your mood lifts and your serotonin's elevated and your dopamine receptors, because you're kind of living in a way, we're replicating our ancestral behaviors, aren't you? Small groups working towards a shared goal. We're not really designed to be on our own.
No.
And I think that's why people feel that elevation in their mental health. And I also believe that's why there's been a rise in things like CrossFit, like yoga, because people are trying to recreate that community, and it is really good for us to be part of a community. And hopefully for yourself, when you leave, you'll try to replicate that in your life by joining clubs, running clubs, yoga, maybe not running, but weightlifting. Let's talk about that. You did that today. And we've already seen a huge amount of progress in your lifting, what you're able to move. And how have you found the strength training that you've done so far?
I really enjoy strength training. And I think the biggest thing I've taken from it today in particular is the form.
Yeah.
So when I get that form wrong, I realise I can lift heavier, but it's not the right way of doing it. So I think everything that we learn, and in particular from you, the knowledge, it blows my mind.
Yeah. Knowledge is power.
Yeah, it is.
Sure. Right, favourite session?
You can't ask me that.
Come on.
Favourite session. Do you know what? As much as I hated it, spin.
You're so many people say that.
I hated it.
It's horrible. That means it's good.
Hating. Yeah. I think you could just feel how much you'd worked in it.
Yeah.
And the music was pumping. You kind of get lost a little bit in your own head. So yeah, it was the spin. But now I'm scared. Do I have you again next week?
The week after, yeah. So definitely spin is on the menu.
Damn.
For sure. Worst session?
Worst session yesterday. I thought we were nearly home on the walk.
Walking again, okay.
Yeah. And Charlotte tricked us.
She did you over, didn't she?
Yeah. And I'd allowed my stomach to relax.
Charlotte, if you're listening to this, you are a marked woman.
I did tell her. And I was using my poles. And she was like, you were literally slamming your poles into my face. And I was like, yes, I am. I think it's because I knew we were so close. And then we had to walk past the house pretty much. I was like, oh, I just want to go home.
Yeah, it's all good though. It's all worth it in the end. You know, you'll thank her in the end. How do you find the role of an AC as new activity coordinator? How have you found that role in terms of the support for you guys?
I just think they're so full of energy. So when we're starting to flag a little bit, they kind of bring the energy back up for us. You'll find out tomorrow that we've taken one of our activities slightly to the extreme.
Okay.
I'm not going to share now. You'll find out
interesting.
tomorrow. But you know that's because Charlotte came into the room, gave us something to do with such kind of energy behind it that possibly Emmett and I went a little bit out of control with it.
Right.
But they're great. They on those walks when you just want to give up. Yesterday, I wanted to give up. And Charlotte kept drumming it into me that she's got 100% success rate with no pickups. I'm going,
that's pressure.
I was literally, I hate you, Charlotte.
That's pressure. Did she walk her dog? Have you been on the walk with her dogs?
She's bringing the dog tomorrow.
Have you met the dog?
Yeah.
The dog is like Charlotte, not looks-wise, obviously, but in terms of the energy. Because the dog just doesn't stop and it'll run itself into the ground, and that's Charlotte.
That is Charlotte.
She just stands there panting, and then she's off again. She's crazy.
She is. And Emily also is so full of energy.
Yeah.
I need to get her to sing when she's with us next week because I've heard she's a good singer.
She's amazing.
And we do like to stop for just like a 2-minute karaoke session.
Yeah, she has no problem singing as well.
No. I mean, she looks like Elsa, so
yeah,
I'm sure she can sing.
Yeah, she's it's that Welshness. They love it, don't they? Who else we got? What trainers have you had? Reg and Miles?
Reg, Miles and you.
Yeah, all very different, but...
So different.
That helps because the change is as good as the rest, isn't it? I mean, if you had the same trainer for 12 weeks or 8 weeks... It'd get tedious fast, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because you'd be doing probably the same-ish things.
Exactly.
And it's really great taking the mick out of Miles.
Yes.
He goes red really easily.
Oh, he's really easy to make blush, isn't he? He looks like he could pick up your house.
Yeah.
And he probably could, but he's like the calmest, chilled out person ever.
Yeah, I really enjoy winding him up though.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Miles, if you're listening to this, you know... You can get her back.
Don't say that because I might have him as a trainer.
Yeah, he's gonna have you. He'll go red while he does it though.
Yeah, I know. He went red on parade earlier.
Did he?
He tried to ignore what I was saying. Me and Charlotte were having a giggle.
Bless him. And Reg is like the opposite.
Oh God, Reg.
He loves to kick off, doesn't he?
I mean, in his opening talk on a Friday, he says that if he doesn't make anyone either puke or cry on Saturday, he's not done his job.
No, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Standard Reg. So who else would you come into contact with? Obviously, it's on my mind to talk about the actual Conquer Food program, the work that you do with Smudge. How important is that? For me, I think it's some of the most important work you'll do because it's the looking inside, changing those habits and behaviours, which are a lot of the reason why people come to camp.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the exercise is amazing. It does a job, but it doesn't change the underlying habits behind the reasons that you're here. And how do you find that?
Smudge is awful with technology, but he's great. So our group sessions are very different because we're all different characters. Some will speak, some won't. He knows that, and he susses out kind of how to grab stuff out of us. And one-to-ones wise, he's been so helpful. He kind of recognised my character straight away, which is I'm not going to tell him Jack.
Okay.
I obviously ended up telling him stuff.
Yeah.
Because he kind of does this whole silent treatment thing and then just asks you questions. But he's kind of helped me work through how I see things sometimes and also how I can kind of put myself down. So I'm always willing to help others, but I don't look after myself. So that's why my health gets bad.
Yeah.
That's why I won't think about or care about what I'm eating or whether I eat or not. So I anger starve myself.
Right.
If I'm having a bad moment and I'm not happy about things, I actually will punish myself by not eating, which then it triggers diabetes issues, triggers other issues.
Yeah.
So he's helped me kind of open up about that and admit that it is a form of emotional eating, I guess, but I don't sit there and emotionally overeat. I use food as a punishment for myself.
Okay.
Or I make myself too busy. Like if I'm angry or things aren't just, I'm not happy with life or whatever, I kind of use, if I don't look after myself, then it doesn't matter. And he's kind of helped me talk through some of that stuff and
Awesome.
open up about it, because I would never have admitted that to you if you'd asked me like a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Have you found it at any point hard to come to terms with what you've like unknowingly done to yourself? Are there any moments when you're like, I can't believe I was actually eating that? What have I done?
Yep. There's been a few times, like when I sit down for dinner and I see what we're eating and how the portion is and how that you're not hungry at 9 o'clock at night, it makes me go, why was I that person that 9, 10 o'clock at night would get into bed and then would think about what was in the fridge and then would get out of bed and go and get what was in the fridge and eat it, or what was in the cupboard, a bag of crisps. Like, why was I that person? I didn't need that because I don't need it here. And I've been tested a few times because I've been to the shop a couple of times.
Yeah.
And yes, I'll admit, to buy cigarettes. And each time, one time the shop smelt the pastries and they had fresh strawberries on the counter. The other time they had piles of chocolate. And I just sat there going, why do you do this? And I actually had quite a long conversation with the shopkeeper. And they're like, well, go grab something. There's no queue. And I was like, no, I want it, but I don't need it. And I genuinely, I think that's what I'm going to keep on telling myself is, do you actually need that or do you want it? And if it's a want, do you actually have to have it? So I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. And
Nice.
a little bit of that is kind of Smudge and the rest of the group as well.
Yeah. I think the group pulling together is, for me, it's the key thing. And the Kung Fu groups are always seem to be like that, I think, because they all come from this side of struggle and they've got their issues. And I think that and because you share so much in the groups, it does pull you together because you spend the most of the time together and it's you guys that get each other through. We dip in and out, and yeah, we encourage and we help and there is support there. But I think the support and help you guys give each other, and it's no surprise that a lot of people go on to make lifelong friendships.
Yeah.
And also go on to achieve incredible things. I've genuinely seen so many lives turned around, and it's really powerful to be part of that. And I'd never, ever want to become desensitized to that. Just already yourself, seeing where you're at now with your medication, it's just, I know where you're going to be in another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You've got loads more struggle to get through because you wouldn't want it to be any other way. I wouldn't want it to be easy because therefore it wouldn't be worth doing. So
No. And I know that my goal is get through this, achieve what I want to achieve, and then don't slip back.
yeah.
So I'm already thinking about aiming to be able to come in December and do a week of boot camp. So that's my next goal after leaving here, is to feel like I'm strong enough to be able to do that.
It's that accountability as well, isn't it? If we know you're coming back, we know what weight you left at, where you were with your meds. Yeah. It's just, yeah. And a lot of people come back to show off, to enjoy camp in a different way.
Yeah.
To be one of those front runners. You've already noticed that the Kung Fu dudes, how good they are with their technique. We get so much time with them, how fit they become.
Yeah.
Deceptively fit a lot of the time, when we put you in those group challenges. It's great to see, how they excel. And I've seen that so many times.
Yeah, we're definitely stronger on the challenges sometimes.
Yeah, it's awesome. Do you get a little bit protective over the Kung Fu dudes, us trainers do?
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, not that we don't love and enjoy classic camp, but they're kind of in and out a bit quicker. They know what they come for. They just smash it. Out they go. They lose £9, £10, whatever. And they're gone. Brilliant. Loads of returners like this week, for example. You know yourself, I've worked there for, like I said, 6 years. Never worked a week, bar the first 4 where I haven't known someone.
That's crazy.
Every single week.
Yeah.
There are some times when I've missed the weekend, come in on a Monday, and I know everyone. How crazy is that?
We've got loads of people that were here on my first week returning on my last week.
Right.
That's only a 7-week time period, and they're already coming back, which is mental.
It's awesome, isn't it? Yeah. It's a real special place. I do love it. Right, to wrap it up, how much weight have you lost so far?
I think 19 pounds.
Okay, which is mega. So hopefully it'll be 2 stone by the end of this week.
That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah. And centimetres off the waist, what have we measured that?
It was 8 my first week. I can't remember what we did this week. I think it was a little bit more.
Okay.
So maybe 10, 11. Yeah.
Probably. So even 8 centimetres is pretty mega, isn't it? Because that's where we really want to pull that fat from.
I am now having to roll up my gym gear. So all my jogging bottoms having to roll up, all my shorts having to roll up. Yeah, this is a good sign.
Well, it's not good when your trousers fall down when you're running, but it is a good sign. Right, I think you've been awesome. I really enjoy training you. I think all the other guys, they always speak highly of you, all the people in the staff room. So I think you're going to smash the remainder of your time here. And I would like to do a podcast just before you leave, and we'll see where you're at with your insulin, with your weight loss, and how you're getting on.
Sounds good to me.
Neema, you've been awesome.
Thank you, Ash.
Thank you for joining Bootcamp Raw.